UFC 307 quickly approaching in Salt Lake City, and with me today fighting on the card, Aljamain Sterling. Aljo, how you doing, man?
Doing well. Very good.
So, elephant in the room, you potentially have some beef with Homa Fight, which is where this interview is on. So I gotta ask. They want me to ask too, obviously. What did we potentially do wrong?
I feel like a lot of those pages, a lot of the pages that you guys run or the other people run, I feel like there's a lot of the way you guys post stuff is it could be very controversial, which I understand trying to get engagement, but it comes off as a slap in the face to the athletes. That's just I think everyone's overall consensus if you ask the fighters.
Like the clickbait type stuff, so to speak.
Exactly. So
So
I'm pretty sure you guys can understand where that can turn people off from wanting to even do things like this with anybody. Especially for me, it's not like I'm in a position where I need to build my I don't want to say following, but getting people in the MMA space to know who I am. I mean, I already did what I need to do. Um, so it makes me more reluctant to want to do stuff like this with people who are up and coming or just trying to get started, or even if they're established or not, because it's not a. I think people take our kindness for weakness, and they forget that we're people too, and we can do it. I'll leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that.
no, I mean I understand where you're coming from, and I mean, again, I told you I don't make the posts on Homa Fight, but I do represent the name, and my job is to interview fighters, and I can tell you, as someone who is coming on, and now we're trying to make an established publication, we will do better, and I do apologize because I know for a fact myself and everybody at Homa Fight is a big Aljamain Sterling fan, so definitely not our intent, and we will do better. I think everybody needs to do better. Our goal is to promote you guys, so we got to do a better job at doing that, which is why I have an interview prepared that I think will be good if you're still down to get into it. Yeah.
Sure.
All right, let's do it, man. October 5th, you're fighting. Before that, Merab and Frivola are on deck. You going to be in both their corners?
Just Merab.
Frivola's just a little bit too close to yours.
A little bit too close and very far.
That's a good point. That's a lot of traveling going to Paris and back. So, I mean, I don't know if you've talked about it too much. If not, I would love to hear more of your thoughts on Merab versus Sean, because you know Merab very well, and you know Sean very well, too, from being in the octagon with him.
My thoughts are O'Malley is very good at what he does, and Merab is very good at what he does as well. I think it's going to come down to a patience game. I think if Merab implements the game plan that I use in the first round, just make it a slow fight. Let O'Malley be the one to make the mistakes. He's used to people chasing him, and he's a very good counter fighter. So don't give him what he needs, which is what the game plan was in our fight. And somehow, some way, mentally just made a mistake, trying to be overly eager to just get out of the cage. And I got out of the cage in the way that I did not want to, meaning making a mistake, causing a TKO scenario. So just speaking to Merab, just let him know those are his keys to victory. You watch his fight with Pedro Munoz, it's a very slow paced fight. Not much happens if you don't give him what he wants. And I think anyone who's an analyst in the sport knows what he's good at, knows what he needs to have success. You take those tools away from him, then he doesn't really, I don't want to say he doesn't really have much, but we haven't seen that side of him having to be the aggressor when his opponent is not hurt. With Merab, we know he could go forward, push the pace on you, and we know he can step back when he needs to. We know when he's been hurt, he can fight through it. And I think we've seen more out of Merab than we have seen out of the O'Malley game. And I think that's going to be the difference in the fight, whether or not the experience of Merab will overtake the experience of O'Malley. And I really do think the pressure, his pace, his conditioning will be the factor in that one.
And I mean, I know all you guys at Law are very close with each other, but you and Merab obviously are, you just seem a little bit different. You're like two peas in a pod. Like, why is that? Why is your guys' friendship so unique?
Well, one would think we were the main training partners for each other. We were kind of like each other's coaches, and I was a very big part of his career. He was a very big part of my career in my training camps. We've hung out with each other multiple times, gone to each other's countries, and meeting each other's family and stuff like that. I think it's just different. We're not just training partners in the room, and then as soon as we're done, we kind of just peace out. And now we're here in Vegas. We're neighbors. We haven't done much training this time because our camps and times have been very different. But the times I've been able to go down and watch him train or get some work in with him, he's just on demon time right now. And I really do think this is going to be his second coming out party. Well, I think the first one was Jan. The second was
Yeah.
the Henry fight. I think it shocked a lot of people, and I think this will be the third.
And I mean, with camp, obviously, you guys all from law, and now you guys are, I know you guys are in Vegas a little bit, not all training together exclusively. Like, kind of what does that look like compared to what it did maybe 2 or 3 years ago?
I mean, the difference is he's primarily at Syndicate MMA. I'm mostly at the PI. I go down to Syndicate MMA to help him whenever I can. And whenever I need looks from their guys, I get help from the Syndicate guys, and I get a lot of help from the Extreme Couture guys. They're very close gyms in terms of proximity, but um, very, what would you call it? Just different helms, different guys at the top of the ladder in terms of the coaching. So with that said, it's not easy to do both. So sometimes we have to split our time either going to the PI or if Merab can come down to Extreme Couture, he'll come down to help me. If I have to go down to him at Syndicate, I'll go down to help him. So it's just a little bit different where when we were back home, and even in the beginning times of when we first moved to Vegas, we pretty much did all of our training camp together where we kind of decided if we're going to go to Extreme today or if we're going to go to Syndicate today. And even for those practices, we were primarily each other's main workout partners.
Are you guys like ever back in New York anymore to train?
Yeah, we still go back. I'm actually going back next week for like 2 days,
My word.
just to like promote the rum company for Labor Day parade. It's going to be a big West Indian crowd, so that's going to be huge for us to have some presence there. And we already paid for the promotion, so we're kind of locked in at this point. So it's just kind of a quick turnaround. I don't know if he's going back for any part of his camp, to be honest. I don't think it makes a lot of sense just to do the travel for no reason. Well, for me, I actually have obligations, so I kind of have to go get my work in while I'm out there, and then come right back and get ready for my fight in October.
You just posted a picture with Mighty Mouse. I know you've been at the top for a long time, but was that a little bit different? Was that one special?
Oh, for sure. Mighty Mouse is one of the greatest minds in MMA, if you ask me. And even getting to talk to him, pick his brain on how he thinks, some of his setups, and some of the stuff he's looking for. It's next level, and there's no question why. Just with my experience with him in those few times we got to train with each other, it's no doubt why he has been and still is to me the greatest of all time in any weight class. I just think the guy is just that damn good.
He's your GOAT overall, everyone.
I say overall, I would say if second would probably be John Jones. Overall, in terms of like currently actively competing, I mean, it is between Islam and I would say Alex Pereira. But right now, for me, I would say it's definitely Alex, just because of activity. Activity means something. Um, you put yourself in the fire more times than others. There's more risk of you losing versus fighting once, maybe twice a year. Especially as a champion, for Alex to be that busy, it's not easy, and he's beating the best of the best guys at his weight class. I know people might say the skill set, this and that, but in terms of what he has in front of him, there's no denying what he's done in that division, in two divisions actually.
And let's talk about your fight, Movsar Evloev. I don't need to necessarily know your thoughts on the guy himself, but I do want to know, grappling wise, who's better? Because you're both known as the grapplers.
I think if we had a straight up grappling match, I win. But I have no animosity towards the guy. At the end of the day, for me, it's just two guys trying to accomplish a dream, and I've been there before. And I know he might think that he's hungrier because I've had the silk sheets and I still have them, but I want more. And I think that's the difference between him and I. Is I'm here to be a little bit greedy and to take everything that I can while I'm in this sport. And unfortunately, Mozart's in the way. We have some mutual friends in terms of training partners. Maybe like not too many, but I know we have one real mutual friend, former trainer partner of mine back in New York. He's now training down there with him. Like I said, no animosity. I just think from what I've heard through the grapevine, uh, he's not a clean athlete, and I think that's just what it comes down to. And people can say whatever, you have no proof. I'm like, dude, the same thing people were saying about TJ Dillashaw from years ago, him teaching people how to do it, Cody Garbrandt calling him out at the press conference, and everyone sweeping it under the rug, telling TJ direct to his face that you taught everyone at the gym how to do it. Um, those conversations are not very different from what I've had about Movsar. And I think where there's smoke, there's fire. Do I have any hard evidence? Like, did I see the guy stick a needle up his ass? No. Did he pop for anything yet? No. Maybe he never will. But at the end of the day, only him and his consciousness will know if he's truly a clean athlete. And I really do believe he does. I truly do believe he knows he's cheated. It is what it is. I'm gonna fight him. I fought multiple guys who've done stuff, whether or not they got caught, and that's just what it is. I'm a gamer. I just like to let them know, like, I know what you're doing, and it has nothing to do with making an excuse. I'm just calling a spade a spade. And if you want to call people want to call that an excuse, then I'm gonna fight the guy whether I talked about it before or not. When people get popped, I call them out, and that's been a long running history of me. So that's why I don't take anything unless it's third party certified. And facts are the facts. People can hate it all they want, but I've been nothing but honest with the fans. So, again, I have no hard evidence, but where there's smoke, there's fire, and you will never hear those conversations of Aljamain teaches guys how to do this and how to cheat and get away. You would just never hear those conversations because it's not there. Never happened. Him, on the other hand, he can't say that. So that's the difference.
So you're saying you're concerned there is some potential meddling in terms of PEDs or whatever it be with Evloev, but more so, you really think this is still like a prevalent thing in the UFC, even with like, I know they don't have USADA anymore, but just with all the tests and everything?
I mean, as the UFC knows, as the DCI know as well, the cheaters are always going to have, they're always going to be one up from the testing. And everybody knows that. And once you know something like that, it makes it that much easier to get away with it. So people can say whatever they want. Again, I just call a spade a spade. I have no concerns about it because I'm going to fight the motherfucker anyway. So it doesn't really bother me in that regards. I just like to let them know, like, you're a mental midget because you need to do stuff like this. And that's the difference between you and I.
And, you know, stylistically wise, going into this one, I mentioned the grappling, but a lot of times when we see two grapplers that high level go at it, it turns into a striking war for whatever reason. You have any thoughts on if you'd prefer that or how you would fare in a striking match with Evloev?
Honestly, I think we're both two unorthodox strikers. He primarily likes to box when he strikes. I primarily like to kick. If it turns to a striking match, I like my chances as well. I think he's probably looking at me as a guy with no power, so he might feel more comfortable trying to go forward. I think that might be his thought process, but he has no idea how hard I actually hit, especially being at this weight class where I'm not zapping my energy and my strength like I did when I was at 135. So I invite him to anywhere the fight goes. I think I'm going to beat that ass no matter where it goes. That's just my humble opinion, and may the best man win.
In terms of what's next with a big win and a call out, where do you go, man? You go for Volk? Do you go for the winner of Ilia and Max? You want the title shot? What are your thoughts?
Honestly, if I'm going to be real, it just depends on how my fight goes with Movsar. I really do think I could beat his ass in the first round and get him out of there. We'll see if that happens. I think that gives me a strong case to be fighting for a title next. But I got to get past Movsar. It just really depends on how I do it, how it looks. We know the UFC is more on entertainment versus merit these days, and I'm not I'm not I'm not ignorant to that fact. I know when I was first coming up, I was a little bit more salty about that because it was just kind of annoying to see how some guys would get special treatment based on that. It was just like, well, what's the point of having the rankings if we're not going to use them anyway? You might as well just get rid of it and just make it a popularity contest. I would much rather have that so it's easier and no one can get pissed off as a fighter.
Transparent.
What's it?
It's transparent that way, you know? There's no pretending,
Very
there's no hiding.
transparent. just know what you're getting yourself into, what you're signing up for versus, oh, I'm ranked this, but I can't get this. And I think another perfect scenario is the Beneil Dariush scenario where he should have been next in line, but had to fight one more just to try to get an opportunity because the UFC doesn't probably think he's very entertaining or they think he's too quiet or boring or not even boring. Just probably not the personality that they want as champion in terms of selling. And I get the business aspect of it too, but for the fighters, it's kind of like, well, what is the point of doing all this if it doesn't even matter?
And in terms of that championship fight that I mentioned, Max and Ilia, who do you got? That's an absolute banger of a fight.
I don't know. I'm still stuck on the fence with that one. I think Max's footwork is gonna give Ilia some trouble in the early goings. I know in Ilia's interviews he was saying, bring that same energy that you brought at the last 10 seconds of the fight into the first round, and he knows he'll put his lights out. But I think Max is smart enough to know I'm not going to go out swinging like that in the first round. I'm going to try to pick him apart. And if you watch the Volk fight with Ilia, the first round is very telling where guys who move a lot are just harder to hit. And when Volk was moving, sticking and moving until he got stuck against the cage, he was having a lot of success with his jab, his kicks. And once he got, I don't know, I don't want to say bored, but once he made the mistake of like, you know what, I'm going to sit here and try to trade with him, it was the wrong decision to make. And sometimes those things happen even when you're one of the best guys out there. So he made a mistake. He paid for it. And I just don't know if Max is going to go out there and make that same mistake.
And Aljo, we're at the 15-minute mark. There's one more thing I wanted to do. Do you have another 3 minutes or do you have to go?
Yeah.
I appreciate the time, man. And I'm sure maybe not, but Home of Fight does this fun thing where we do best pound for pound wrestling list. Have you seen us do this before?
I'm not sure.
Well, you're always in the discussions, but the way I do it is I'll give you one UFC fighter and another one. You'll tell me who's the better pound for pound wrestler, and then we'll go down the list. Whichever fighter you win moves on. Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
All right, so we're going to start with Khamzat Chimaev or Colby Covington.
Better just wrestler for wrestling or for wrestling for MMA?
Pound for pound MMA wrestling, in my opinion.
Okay, MMA wrestling. I mean, it's hard to ignore Kobe's endurance. I think that's the difference between him and Khamzat. But in that first round, Khamzat is a motherfucker. I'm gonna go with Khamzat.
What about Khamzat or Bilal Muhammad?
I haven't seen either one of the anti-wrestling, but just straight up offensive wrestling. I mean, Bilal is hard to deny, man. Damn. I'm gonna go with Bilal just because he's a champ right now, and I think it'd be kind of weird to not give it to him because of that.
And what about Bilal versus your opponent, Movsar Evloev?
Bilal versus Movsar. I say Bilal still. I think Bilal.
Bilal's moving on against Kamaru Usman.
I mean, right now, between the two, I gotta say Bilal. I don't think Usman doesn't really wrestle like that. He's very strong if he gets you down, but for the most part, a lot of his wrestling is against the cage. And for me, I don't know if that counts in terms of successful takedowns. So it's not like a slight at Kamaru. It's just he's good at grappling overall and is keeping guys in his positioning that he wants them. Where Bilal can constantly take you down, and I think that's why for me he moves on.
And we got a few more here. Bilal moving on again against an Olympian, someone you've won against too, Henry Cejudo.
I mean, Henry's wrestling is almost non-existent in MMA. But with that said, damn, Bilal's just he's just a winner right now. I got Bilal again.
Well, someone Henry was really high on when we did this with him was Bo Nickel. Can Bo Nickel beat Bilal?
Oh yeah, 100%. That's a completely different beast.
So Bo Nickel takes it finally, but here's another hard one for you because I'm asking you about Bo Nickel and Merab Dvalishvili.
In terms of clean wrestling, I mean, Bo is definitely better. Um, and with overall control, Merab is going to take you down 100 times if he has to until you just completely give up. So it's just a completely different style. But in terms of wrestling takedowns plus control, I would give the edge to Bo Nickel because he can do really good jiu-jitsu things as well, not just take you down. Where Merab will take you down, he'll punish you, beat you up. But he's not known for his like control. He's just known to just constantly just be
Yeah.
a marauder and just be in your face the entire time. So if we're just looking for dominant wrestling, it's just Merab is dominating in a different way. So that's a hard pick. But if I'm going to say just pure wrestling, I'm going to go with Bo Nickel.
And then 2 more names, then we're done. Bo Nickel or Islam Makhachev.
Bo Nickel.
Oh,
I think that's an easier one than Merab.
all right. We might have our first Bo Nickel win here, unless the last name takes it, which is Aljamain Sterling.
I mean, Bo Nickel over me. Shit. Bo's pretty damn good, man. I can't knock it. I'm gonna go. I'll go Bo Nickel. I think he's earned
Respect.
that.
Bo Nickel takes it. Best pound for pound wrestler in UFC. A lot of names to go through,
But
but
I think I'm better on the ground though. But just straight up wrestling, I'll give it to Bo Nickel.
respected, man. Aljo, before I get you out of here, anything you'd like to say to all your fans ahead of the big fight?
Nah, just really just tune in, man. 307. On a journey to win another belt. And this is where it starts. Well, it's already started with Calvin. Let's see what happens with this one and see if I'm the real deal at 145, if I'm a real threat to the title. And I truly do believe that. I have no doubt in my mind that I could go out there and really make it look easy against Movsar. And I think he has a lot to be worried about. And I think the fans are in for a fun fight, whether it's grappling or striking.
Appreciate the time, man. I hope we could put some of that beef behind us. Again, nothing but respect from me, and I can speak for all the Home of Fight guys. They all agree. Best of luck, best of skill. Enjoy Game of Thrones, maybe most importantly, right?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go eat and watch that right now.
Awesome, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Aljamain Sterling, UFC 307. Don't miss it.